Hey everybody, we're going live with Arena Early Access for Secrets of Strixhaven. And in this first initial short stream, we're just going to jump into a sealed pool, preparing ourselves for this weekend's pre-release. We're going to open up and see if we can build ourselves a deck to be played later. We're best of one, and it looks like on Arena, you're choosing factions, so it looks like we're going to have a faction-based pack, at least, in one of these. In fact, it tells us 4 regular packs and 2 special themed packs. I actually haven't looked to see if that's going to be the case for pre-release yet. I kind of hope not. I kind of hope we can just build what we get. Although in the past, when we've had things like this, like for Turkey Dragonstorm and things like that, even for Avatar, it's been 5 and 1 in cases where Arena is 4 and 2. I'm partial to Quandrix, being a math teacher myself. All the X-Spell stuff and the Quandrix being the kind of the math school. I think I'm going to start with that as my initial seeded or themed packs here. We're going to go Quandrix. So here's our special Quandrix themed packs. We'll open those up and see what we get. Here's our Quandrix rares. A couple of regular rares here. Birda Wise Extrapolator, 4 mana 1/4 with increment, which means that X is involved somehow. Whenever one or more counters are put on Birda, +1/+1 counters add 1 mana of any color. Kind of a cool mana ability that doesn't require tapping or spending anything, just kind of a trigger effect, floating mana in your pool. And then X tap, create a 0/0 green and blue fractal with X +1/+1 counters on it, that kind of Strixhaven-y fractal token. So it gives you an immediate way to use the mana. And so kind of an interesting mana rocky, mana generator something. You'd like automatic +1/+1 triggers to happen with this, because otherwise you're playing a 1/4 for 4 that doesn't do anything immediately, which is a little bit scary. But we'll see if our pool supports playing something like this. Pensive Professor, another increment rare. Whenever one or more +1/+1 counters are put on this creature, draw a card. And we should talk about that keyword increment, because it is somewhat automatic counter placing, not immediately, but based on future cards. Notice the text there. Whenever you cast a spell, if the amount of mana you spent is greater than this creature's power or toughness, put a counter on this creature. So this is getting a counter initially if you spend literally any mana on a spell. Any spell. Creature, instant sorcery, enchantment, planeswalker, whatever. Birda is getting its increment value if you initially spend 2 or more mana. Now obviously that amount is going to increase, so it's going to get incrementally harder to put counters on your creature this way. But you're playing Birda on 4, which means you have the potential to be spending 5 or more later. You're playing Pensive Professor on 3, which means you have the potential to be spending 4 or more later, right? Let's see what else we have here that might align with our Quandrix colors, touching our Quandrix colors. Quandrix is going to be able to splash very easily, obviously, because of green, and we've already got a mana of any color happening here. We've got the blue-red rare land, and then let's see here, we've got the 5 blue-red rare. Once during each of your turns, you may cast an instant or sorcery spell from your hand without paying its mana cost. That's an attractive 7 mana splash, because you're going to be able to play like any super expensive spell immediately following it. Like you can just cast that immediately, unless they instant speed kill it. You're going to be able to benefit from that 7-drop right away that turn. Little planning required, obviously. Then we've got these 2 black-green rares. Probably next most, also most likely to be played. Nita, probably not, right? Although placing counters is a nice thing. So if we ended up, whenever you cast a spell you don't own, a little bit of work required there. Anyway, Cauldron of Essence. When a creature you control dies, you drain your opponent for 1, and you can sack a creature, therefore triggering that to return target creature from your graveyard to the battlefield. Activate only as a sorcery. Boy, that reminds me of the what is it? Curse Cloth wrappings from Ether Drift, like kind of the recurring bring something back. That is a scary card and definitely worthy of being included. You don't have to be black, green, anything to like this card. Very attractive to include that potentially here. Get stuff back. Vicious Rivalry is an additional cost to cast this spell. Pay X life. Destroy all artifacts and creatures with mana value X or less. So board wipe that costs you life. I don't think this technically doesn't count as an X spell, which Quandrix really likes spells with X in the cost. So it depends on how much we want to play control-y board wipe kind of stuff, right? As opposed to the snowball-y counters thing that these two cards are suggesting. So we got Calling the Weak off the bonus sheet. 1 black mana plus sack a creature to kind of Dark Ritual yourself, a form of Dark Ritual. We're obviously not going to be using that here, at least if we're going to play these rares. And I think for this initial pool, we are going to try to build this based on the rares. So I'm going to do what I typically do here. We're going to dump a bunch of this into sealed deck. I'm just going to pick everything uncommon or higher. We're just going to throw it all in the deck. Here we go. You're going to have way more than 40 cards, even more than you would in a normal set, because there are so many cards on the bonus sheet, and it's a normal bonus sheet, so uncommon, rare, and mythic, not just a bunch of mythics like we've had recently. So we're going to just do that for a second, and then we're going to throw that in our decks, and let's go build this in sealed deck here. Let's see, should be right here, I would guess. Yeah, 61 non-format cards. That's got to be it, since we don't have any cards yet. Let's export that, and then I'm going to go and open that in sealed deck. Let's make sure you can see that first. There we go. There's sealed deck, and we'll just dump it in. And now it's fine. We'll just clear the deck, and we'll sort by rarity, and we'll see the cards that we had before. So, what a mess of rares. Yeah. Yeah, there are. I agree. There are definitely some bonkers uncommons on that bonus sheet, no question. Let's see where we start here. Let's throw Berta in there. Let's throw Pensive Professor in there. We'll put our kind of color adjacent cards over here for now. I like looking at the lands kind of separately. And then let's look through the uncommons here. We'll start from the bottom. And we would expect that we have a lot of Quandrix, i.e. Simic uncommons, given that we have the 2 seeded packs. Let's see. Fractal Tender, 3/3 for 5 with Ward 2. At least it's protecting itself. With increment at the beginning of each M step, if you put a counter on, create a 3/3 fractal, basically. That is great. Expensive, but has protection, and basically think of it as like a 5 mana for 2 3/3s a lot of the time. That could be more than 2 3/3s. Like, this just plays into the snowball idea that these cards want. And also notice that by automatically triggering that and putting counters on something, you're going to get the whenever counters are put on a creature triggers that are going to be seen somewhere. So this is definitely a good candidate for inclusion. Tam is the uncommon prepared creature. 4 mana, 4/3 with landfall. When a land you control enters, Tam becomes prepared. Unfortunately, you can't stack prepared triggers. I mean, otherwise, that green card that we might see see if we have it in this pool, but that green card that lets you sack 2 lands to get 4 landfall triggers. Unfortunately, TAM cannot become 4x prepared. But green and a blue sorcery, draw a card, gain 1 life. I mean, yeah, 4 mana 4/3 that can draw you a card and gain life, and that can be, of course, done repeatedly because landfall is going to happen a lot. So, yeah, definite good candidate there. Quandrix Charm, got the whole charm cycle in this set. Counter target spell unless controller pays 2. There's your typical 2 mana blue effect. Destroy target enchantment or give target creature base power and toughness 5/5 until end of turn. I think this is probably one of the lesser exciting charms out of all of them. But it's got, lots of utility at instant speed, obviously. It's kind of like being able to have three of the kind of typical, blue-green sideboard cards, but in one card. And so that immediately makes it better with the optionality. So we'll throw it in there, get some experience with it. Cuboid Colony, 1/1 flash, flying trample with increment. Now we're talking about an increment creature. This thing is going to grow and just be annoying. I have a feeling you're going to want lots and lots of these in your, if you can get them in your Quandrix draft decks. You're just not going to be sad about this being a 2/2. Play it on your opponent's turn at the end of their turn 2, and then just start going off with whatever you're going to play on turn 3. I mean, even if you get stuck with what's in your hand and you're not able to perfectly curve out, and you're even playing a 2 mana spell on 3, like this is still becoming a 2/2 on that turn, and it's going to grow probably just about every turn thereafter. So it's going to scale with the game, which is awesome. All right, we'll look at the. I guess we'll look at these two, just to see. Think of this as blue, blue, red for us, and think of this as green, green, black for us, with kind of our candidate splashes here. But Essence Knit Scholar, when this enters 3/1 for 3, create a 1/1 pest that has to attack now in this set. At the beginning of your end step, if a creature died, draw a card. That does kind of play well with Cauldron, which can sack a creature, so it can trigger the Scholar, and you're basically getting a card and the creature back from your graveyard to your battlefield. That's kind of sweet. I would say this is a candidate, but we're going to put it over here. This is definitely less powerful than the Cauldron and not as essential as the Cauldron. Kind of depends on how badly we want to get in, how well we can get into Bath. Yes, I want the math deck. I mean, if I have to choose initially, I mean, come on, you're listening to a stream about a school's themed Magic set from a teacher. Let's go. All right, Abstract Paint Mage, blue, blue, red. Think of it that way. This is the weird mana dork, and this is mainly for being able to cast expensive Opus spells. I don't think we want to hurt our mana enough to play this. I mean, 5 blue, red is still in play depending on how much fixing we have, and there's quite a bit in this set, especially common, but this is not exciting to me to play at all. We don't need extra red mana getting generated if we're splashing that. We're going to leave that on the board here. That's very interesting. Look at those colors. We ended up with 0 regular blue uncommons. None. Just absolutely none of them. 10 million green ones, which means we can be green heavy, which helps fixing, but no blue uncommons. Funny. Okay. Environmental Scientist, 2 mana 2/2, search for land. Awesome, since we want to splash. We like that. That's a great card. Pick your poison from the bonus sheet. Each opponent sacks an artifact, each opponent sacks an enchantment, each opponent sacks a creature with flying of their choice. That's such a weird, like, naturalize-y effect on that typical green card. At sorcery speed, I'm not very excited about that, and we'll probably only play it if we're really hurting for removal. That's very unexciting. Chelonian, Kelonian, whatever, tackle. I had not seen this card before. What a hilarious fight spell at sorcery speed for 3 mana. +0, +10 to your creature, and it fights up to 1 target creature. Well, unless you're fighting a death touch creature, you're surviving. I can guarantee you that. We'll include that as removal. What What a funny fight spell. Hilarious. 2 copies of Emil, Vastland's Roamer, creatures you control with counters on them, which we expect to have several of. Have Trample, fantastic. 3 mana 3/3, already fine on rate. And then 5 mana tap, create a fractal with the number of differently named lands, which we hope to have several of because we would like to splash some cards. This is fine just for the first text, even if we can never make a valuable fractal, because we're making fractals for free up here probably. Thornfist Striker, 3/3 for 3, ward 1. Creatures you control get +1/+1, have trample as long as you gained life this turn. This is mostly a black-green secret gold card because of the ridiculous amount of incidental life gain that there is in Golgari / Whisper, whatever it's called. I am so not a fan of having multiple names for the same color pairs, but so I will struggle with that throughout the entire format. But this plays better with black-green. We only have 1 card so far that's gaining us life in the Cauldron when a creature dies. So I mean, and we already have a way of giving our creatures trample. This would give it to all of them, even if they don't have counters. But I'm not putting this in initially. It's still it's fine on rate, so I might go grab it later, especially with the word. But Topiary Lecturer, 3 mana 1/2 with increment, which is a mana dork, adding an amount of green equal to the creature's power, which is going to grow and scale. It's an expensive mana dork. It will let you go from 3 to 5 quickly. And how much incentive do we have? Fractal Tender being played for 4, kind of. We don't have a huge incentive to 5, but let's just put both these cards. They're not out of the question, but I'm not immediately excited to put them in. Zamon's Experiment, 4 mana sorcery, look at the top 5. You may reveal up to 2 creature land cards and put the rest. All land cards go on the battlefield tap. All creatures go this way into your hand. An interesting kind of, draw selection spell in a way. I'm not immediately convinced there. Again, this feels like I really want super good 5s that, like bomb 5s that I want to go and get, but we'll see. Here's 5-drop. Additive Evolution, 5 mana enchantment. When it enters, create a fractal and put 3 counters on. Okay, 3/3 fractal. Great. Another creature with counters, which we like. At the beginning of combat on your turn, put a counter on a creature you control and it gains vigilance. So if you play this pre-combat, you're getting 4/4 worth of stats plus temporary vigilance. And then you're continuing to do that every turn. That's definitely a card I would much rather play on 4 than on 5 with like the Lecturer's ability. Like Lecturer into this card is okay. Actually, Evolution and Lecturer play really well together because Evolution on turn 4 could be played, put the counter on Lecturer. Lecturer becomes a 2. Lecturer becomes with increment. Lecturer becomes a 3/5 with vigilance that turn. Can probably attack profitably a lot of the time on turn 4, and then you can still tap it for 3 mana. That's interesting. I would say that those 2 are now higher candidates than these 2 over here. All right. So let's see. Let's drag these up here for now. And let's drag our splashes up here for now. And let's see where we sit. Decent looking curve here. Let's start looking at our fixing. We've got the blue-red fixing to be able to play Sophia. We've got this, rare blue-red land. Let's include that. Let's see what else we have here. White-black common land. Blue-green common land, sweet. Just helps. 2 copies of it, actually. 2 copies of Paradox Gardens, which is a paradox. Just kidding. We of course have Environmental Scientist, which is letting us fetch a basic, so that's going to be another source for our fixing. We don't really have any fixing that touches black so much, but we do have Potioner's Trove, 1 mana of any color, and tap to gain life if you've cast an instant or sorcery. Again, black-green I think would like that the most because of the life triggers, but, you know, it's fine. Archaic, you really want to be super colorful for that card. You want at least 3 colors and probably 4, so that you're getting like a 6/6 trample reach for 5, 5/5 trample reach for 5, like fine, but not incredibly exciting. Trove might be a consideration. I'm going to throw that up here for now to help us get black, but again, Trove really wants you to have impactful 5-drops because it's 3 ramping you to 5 in a way. Let's look at all of our Quandrix common gold cards, and we have many of them. Fractal Mascot, 6 mana, 6/6 trample that taps and puts a stun counter on your opponent's creature. That's a good payoff for ramping. Certainly something that wears counters well. Probably don't need 2 of these, especially if we play the Cauldron that lets us get creatures back. Maybe we'll put 1 in as like a top end card. Embrace the Paradox, draw 3 for 5, and you could put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield tapped. I mean, that's like ramping you to 7. Think about like Zephi in a way. You know, card draws fine. Instant speed when you're touching blue is okay. Let's maybe put 1 in for now and see how that feels. Terrafractal. Oh, such a good name. Such a good name. 1 mana flyer for X blue-green. Enters with counters on it. When it enters, you gain 2 life. That just activates so many things. X counters, but oh gosh, it's so tiny though. 5 mana for a 4/3 flyer, gain 2. I mean, the flexibility is something. 3 mana for a 2/1 flyer, gain 2. When am I really happy playing that? When I can ramp it and play it on an earlier turn for less mana, maybe. But we don't have a ton of ramp so far. I'm not super excited about that card right now. We'll come back to it. Some of the black-green stuff, Pest Mascot, when you gain life, put a counter on this creature. We're not going to be gaining life enough for that to really go off. Grapple with Death, sorcery speed, removal, only if we absolutely need it on the splash. When this creature another enters, gain life. I mean, we probably, if we really wanted to, have a black-green deck sitting here in our Quandrix deck. We've got enough really good black-green cards, but and maybe you splash blue then? I don't know. We got a lot of Quandrix cards. In this first build, I'm not going to get too fancy with that. All right. Green commons. 1/1 for 1, enters prepared, 2 mana rampant growth, go get a basic land. You know, sure. Right? That just helps the fixing later. Barrage, instant bite spell that gets +1 if you've cast another instant or sorcery. Sure. Removal. Fantastic. Follow the Lumerets, look at the top 4. May reveal a creature or land. If you gained life, you instead reveal 2. See, I like that so much more. I like that so much more than Zimon's Experiment. I mean, look at 5 and you can put lands on the board, but I don't really want to be doing that on turn 4. And it's expensive, and this is cheap, and could potentially be almost as powerful. You're not putting lands on the board, but you can still get 2 creatures out of your top 4. I like this thing. Hungry Graphalon, 3/4 reach with increment. Breach creature that gets bigger when you cast some expensive stuff. I can see playing one of these It's not exciting on 4, but you know it's giving you reach, which you often need in green, and um, we'll put one in for now. We'll see. We're going to see how we end up. All right, blue. We were so devoid of blue in our uncommons. Let's see where we are in our commons. We're at 16 cards right now with some considerations. Definitely some splashes that we want to play. Like we want to play Cauldron. We want to play Vicious Rivalry. How much do we want to nuke the board? Yeah, I mean, maybe. We have some life gain. Zephi, how much expensive instant sorcery do we have that we would want? Embrace the Paradox would be sweet to play for free. We have not a lot of other instants in sorcery, so we might not even be. Right now, we don't have a ton of incentive to play Zephi because we don't have a lot of payoffs for it. Right now, I'm probably playing Lecturer and Evolution, that combo. Yeah, okay. Let's see where we are with blue. We're pretty light on removal right now. We've got the Barrage. We've got the weird tackle thing. We could play the board wipe if we end up light on removal in case opponents play stuff that's better than us, but let's see what we have. Chase Inspiration, +0/+3 and Hexproof. We're liable to be creature heavy here. I'm somewhat interested in playing that. Banishing Betrayal, Bounce something, Surveil 1. There are going to be probably more than the normal number of tokens in this set. You've got pests running all around black-green. You can see how many like big fractals might be in green-blue. I'm interested in playing at least one copy of this. Essence Scatter, we know what that is. Let's sideboard that for now. Hydro Channeler, 2 mana, 1/3. Cares about instants and sorceries, which we don't have very many of, and 1 mana of any color, but for instants and sorceries, not for our deck. Quick Study, instant draw 2. More for a control-y situation. I would rather have. We already have a couple of other kinds of card draw, like Tam repeatedly on landfall and things. Not right now on this. Embrace Paradox is another one. Draw 3 for 5 and put a land on there. Actually, a good question: which one of these is better for our deck? Textbook Tabulator, 4 mana instant, 3 mana if it targets an attacking creature, top or bottom. We know these cards are good, right? Sorry, there we go. Where'd it go? What did I just do? Oh no, that's Run Behind. This feels like I want to play a couple of, but we're already at 9 on. We're already at 9 non-creature spells. I want at least one. Might have to go back and cut something here later. Spellbook Seeker, 4 mana, 3/3 flyer, comes prepared. Draw 2, discard 2 for 1. Not excited. Textbook Tabulator, 0/3 increment for 3. When it enters Surveil 2, it just grows so slowly. I don't care. We have better things we can put in. We've got things in our sideboard that we like better, right? I mean, like Striker, 3 mana, 3/3 ward 1, gain life, give your like. I would immediately rather play that card. Let's go, right? So maybe we don't have a lot of other good creature options here. Terrafractal, kinda, like for our 23rd card. Fractal Mascot, we don't really need another really big thing, I think, especially with Retrieval with Cauldron. So let's actually look at what our mana looks like, because we're right now playing 1 splash card. We're not going to play the blue-red card. We have multiple ways of fetching a land. Studious First Year fetches a land. Environmental Science fetches a land. So putting in 1 swamp should be fine for our 1 card. let's get to 8 sources of both green and blue quickly. And then we have space for 2 more lands. Be nice and smooth to just include a green and a blue. 2 tap lands is a nice number. We've got multiple ways of going and getting that swamp. And that puts us at 40 without playing the board wipe. We've got to bounce, we've got to put top or bottom. How tempo-y are we going to be? Throw something in the graveyard. We like throwing things in the graveyard because then that helps our cauldron. Where are we on colors? Green way more than blue, and we don't want to play our 1 mana blue spell on 1. I think I'm going to decrease our blue and add a swamp for smoothness, and also because I don't mind having 2 black sources on the table in case you like play Cauldron on 6 and then you can activate it on 6 immediate with the like there's incentive to have a second black mana source on the table. Having a slightly low creature count kind of makes me want to have the board wipe. Is there a card I would cut? Is there a non-creature card in particular that I would cut in order to include the board wipe? Not sure. I think I'm going to want to play with this first and see what I like and don't like about it, with like Vicious Rivalry being one of the first considerations to include, and see what card feels bad in our hand. So, okay, that's where we're going to end up with this initial stream, I think. This was the build. I'll be back on at 2:30 Central Time today to play this deck, see how it feels, maybe make some card swaps as we play, see how our initial feelings go. So, thanks for joining, and hope to see you in a couple hours.